I would like to give a big shout out to Square Enix for providing me with early access to Visions of Mana for the PlayStation 5. Now on with the video. Visions of Mana, an action JRPG developed by Oka Studios, also known as Sakura Studios, a subsidiary of NetEase Games headquartered in Shibuya, Tokyo, Japan, represents a new mainline entry in the esteemed Mana series. This latest installment introduces a contemporary evolution in graphics, art style, and gameplay, enhancing the overall experience. After approximately 30 hours of gameplay, I can attest to the game's rich and immersive world, which offers a wealth of activities and a compelling main storyline. Players will encounter a diverse array of characters, each contributing to an engaging and memorable journey. The gameplay is enjoyable. While there are minor imperfections, the overall experience is good. Now let's talk about that story. Visions of Mana centers on Val, a soul guard for the alms chosen individuals tasked with the sacred responsibility of offering their souls to the Mana Tree. This pilgrimage is essential for maintaining balance in the world. Throughout Val's journey, players explore diverse lands and encounter a variety of characters that enrich the game's narrative. Without delving into spoilers, it is worth noting that the game's cast is quite diverse, contributing significantly to the overarching story. While not all characters are equally compelling, there is a greater proportion of well-developed characters compared to less engaging ones. It is also important to acknowledge that the game incorporates some familiar JRPG tropes and moments that may elicit a sense of nostalgia or amusement. Despite a few cringeworthy instances, the narrative delves into profound themes that encourage reflection on the experiences of the heroes. However, the story is occasionally hindered by segments of main quests that feel like filler, slowing the pacing and detracting from the impact of more significant events. Despite these pacing issues, the game's major story developments are engaging and provide strong motivation to continue playing. Overall, Visions of Mana offers a solid narrative experience, though it could have been benefited from a more refined pacing. Moving on to the gameplay, in Visions of Mana, the gameplay is the central highlight, delivering an engaging experience. Players navigate the game's world on foot, by beast, by water, and by air, with the majority of travel occurring on foot. This action RPG features standard attacks, special abilities, jumping, dodging, and elemental vessel attacks, which become available as players progress. These vessels represent different character classes and can be equipped to offer varied weaponry and benefits. Though only one vessel type can be equipped per character at a time, given the importance of elemental interactions, players will need to switch vessels to adapt to different monsters encountered throughout the game. Now, characters can also be equipped with standard gear, including armor, weapons, and items that grant passive abilities and attacks. Additionally, players have the option to alter the appearance of their weapons without affecting their stats. The game employs a level-based system where all party members earn experience points equally, even if they do not participate directly in battles. This design choice eliminates the need for extensive grinding for underused characters, streamlining the progression. Exploring the world reveals elemental vessels that grant points for unlocking additional abilities in the elemental plots, adding another layer of customization. The variety of equipment and vessels setups keeps the gameplay dynamic and enjoyable. Players can strategize and control one character at a time, while switching between characters seamlessly. A helpful feature includes a glowing trail to assist navigation, which is particularly useful if players lose their way. The game also incorporates puzzles and platforming segments that introduce new mechanics for level traversal. While the platforming challenges are not particularly difficult, the effort to diversify level design is commendable. However, enemy and boss designs, with the notable exception of the final battle, could be improved. Many enemies seem like generic, slightly modified animals, and the repetition of enemy types become more noticeable toward the end of the game. Visions of Mana offers a substantial amount of side content though, with a playtime potentially exceeding 100 hours for those who pursue all activities. Despite the volume of side quests, many are relatively shallow, focusing more on item collection and experience points rather than providing significant narrative depth. Overall, the gameplay is entertaining and maintains engagement. However, frequent interruptions by cutscenes, often triggered by reaching map markers, can detract from the experience. These cutscenes, while sometimes informative, frequently disrupt the flow of gameplay and can lead to a desire to skip through them to return to combat and key story moments. This aspect represents a significant drawback in an otherwise enjoyable game. Now let's talk about the graphics and sound. The graphics in Visions of Mana are clean, vibrant, and visually satisfying throughout the entire playthrough. The art style is well suited to the game's genre and is complemented by strong performance. The game offers two modes, quality mode, which generally runs at 60 FPS, and performance mode, which targets a 60 FPS. However, some cutscenes occasionally drop to 30 FPS, though this was not consistently noticeable. The game features excellent lighting, lush environments, and pleasing visual effects that enhance the overall experience. This reinforces that while hyperrealism in games can be impressive, it is not always necessary for a visually engaging experience. Regarding the soundtrack, Visions of Mana includes some enjoyable tracks, though none are particularly outstanding. The music provides a pleasant background, but does not leave a lasting impression. On the other hand, the voice acting is competent, with performances that effectively convey the narrative's emotions. While the cast may not be award-winning, their work supports the game's story well. Now let's talk about the good versus the bad. We want to go over what I thought was good and some things that I thought were not so good. Visions of Mana excels in several areas, particularly its engaging gameplay, vibrant world, distinctive art style, and compelling narrative that culminates in a satisfying conclusion. The introduction of platforming mechanics adds creative depth to the experience. However, the game is not without its flaws. Issues such as uneven pacing, an average soundtrack, lackluster side quests, generic enemy designs, and overly simplistic puzzles suggest there is still significant room for improvement. So should you buy Visions of Mana, and who is this for? Well, if you're a fan of the Mana series, the answer is straightforward. You should definitely give this game a try. I also recommend it to anyone who enjoys action RPGs. For those with a casual interest in the elements discussed, trying out the demo first is a good way to determine if the gameplay suits your preferences. Overall, I give Visions of Mana a strong 8 out of 10. While it may not be a Game of the Year contender, it's still an enjoyable title that can easily provide a few weeks of fun.